I still remember the sound of the door, not the slam, but the lock, click. That single sound echoed louder than the snowstorm swallowing the street behind me. I stood there, frozen, barefoot. Christmas lights blinking behind the window like they were laughing at me. Yeah, that kind of laugh. The kind that says, "You really thought you belonged here?" My mother's voice was still ringing in my head. "You can't survive on your own. You never could." Damn, she shoved a trash bag into my arms, not clothes, not memories, just junk. A ripped towel, a broken ornament, a half-melted candle. Seriously, my father didn't even look at me, just closed the door, hard. Like I was a mistake he finally corrected. I stood there while snow piled up around my feet, staring at the house I grew up in, warm, bright, perfect. Across the street, neighbors peeked through curtains. Nobody came out. Nobody said a word, because watching someone get thrown away is uncomfortable unless it's not you. My phone showed no service. My bank app mocked me, $182.17. Yeah, that's it. My stomach growled, my hands shook. And that's when it hit me. This was it. No homes, no family, no backup. For the first time in my life, I understood what it truly meant to be unwanted. I walked toward my car, sandals slipping, snow biting my skin, and almost fell twice. The trash bag ripped open. Of course it did. Because why not? I sat in the driver's seat, breath fogging the windshield, heater blowing cold air like it hated me too. I stared at the house. Christmas Eve, families laughing, dinners cooking, love pretending to be permanent. And me, I was officially disposable. Then my hand brushed against something cold in my pocket, metal heavy. I froze, pulled it out slowly. A black card, old, no name, just numbers engraved in gold. My grandfather's card, the one he gave me when I was 6. Use this only when you have nowhere left to go. At the time, I laughed. I thought he was being dramatic. Damn, turns out he was preparing me. I sat there shaking, staring at the card like it might disappear. Was it real? Was it useless? Was it my last mistake? I didn't know, but one thing was clear: I had nothing left to lose. And when you reach that point, even impossible starts to look like an option. I didn't go far. Honestly, I didn't know where to go. Every hotel I searched felt like a joke. 200 a night, 300, 500. Yeah, sure, let me just manifest that. My stomach twisted. I hadn't eaten since yesterday, and my hands were shaking so badly I could barely keep the phone steady. I tried calling friends, straight to voicemail. Not because they didn't care, but because my mother spent years quietly erasing me from everyone's life. She's busy, she's emotional, she doesn't want visitors. Looking back, it was surgical, clean, efficient. She didn't isolate me overnight. She trained me to be alone. The clock on the dashboard blinked 11:47 p.m. Christmas Eve. Snow fell harder, thick and silent, like the world was being erased layer by layer. I drove until I saw a flickering neon sign, open 24 hours, a diner. Not fancy, not warm, but it wouldn't kick me out. I slid into a booth, my body stiff with cold. The waitress looked at me, really looked, then nodded. "Coffee?" "Yeah," I whispered, "just coffee." She didn't ask questions, bless her. I wrapped my hands around the mug like it was the last warm thing on earth, and that's when it happened. Clink. The black card slipped from my coat pocket and hit the table. The sound was soft, but my entire body locked up. The waitress glanced at it, her eyes widened. She looked away so fast it was like she'd seen something she wasn't supposed to. She hesitated. "You have one of those?" Then she disappeared into the kitchen. My heart started pounding. One of those? What does that even mean? I picked up the card, running my thumb over the smooth metal. No logo I recognized, just a small crest etched into the corner. Cumberland National Trust, never heard of it. I pulled out my phone, 3% battery, and searched it. One branch nearby, open at 6 a.m., 6 hours away. My phone died instantly. Perfect. I sat there for hours, nursing the same cup of coffee. The waitress refilled it twice without charging me. Pity, kindness, maybe both. Around 2 a.m., exhaustion crushed me. I stumbled back to my car and curled up in the back seat. No blanket. Just my thin jacket and the black card pressed against my chest. The cold crept in slowly, first my fingers, then my toes. Fear followed. The quiet kind. The kind people don't talk about. The kind that whispers. What if you don't wake up? I thought about my grandfather, his hands, his quiet smile, the way he always looked at me like I mattered, even when my parents treated me like a problem. "Grandpa," I whispered into the dark. I hope you knew what you were doing. The card felt heavy against my heart, like a borrowed heartbeat. Morning came gray and bitter. I barely felt my legs when I stepped out of the car. The bank stood across the street, marble columns, brass doors, glowing warm inside. It looked like a place for real money. Old money. Definitely not for someone who slept in their car. I stood there for a full minute, breathing fog into the air. My mother's voice cut through my thoughts again. You can't do anything on your own. Hell no. If I walked away now, she'd be right. I pushed the door open. Inside smelled like polished wood and winter coats. A receptionist looked up and smiled, the polite kind reserved for people she assumed didn't belong. How can I help you? My throat tightened. I need to check the balance on an old account. I slid the black card across the counter. Her smile vanished. Not rude, not shocked, recognizing. I'll call a manager, she said quietly. A manager for a balance check. My stomach dropped. Okay, that can't be good. I sat in a leather chair by the window, hands clenched together. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Just as panic started screaming run, a tall man in a charcoal suit appeared. Miss, he checked my ID. Miss Carter, please come with me. Privately, that word hit hard. His office smelled expensive, controlled. He closed the door, then looked at the card again. Before we continue, he said calmly, I need to ask, why did you decide to use this card today? I swallowed. My parents kicked me out last night. Silence. Christmas Eve, I added. Something shifted in his expression. Not pity, respect. He turned the monitor toward me. Miss Carter, this account is active. My breath caught. Active and very well protected. Protected from what? He paused. From everyone but you. What? He opened another file. My grandfather's name filled the screen. Account created 23 years ago, directive highlighted in bold, accessible only by my granddaughter. Only when she presents the physical card. My vision blurred. He said, I whispered, to use it when I had nowhere left to go. The manager nodded slowly. He was very intentional. He leaned back. Miss Carter, are you ready to see what he left you? My heart slammed. I didn't answer. Because whatever came next, I knew one thing. The life my parents destroyed, it was already over. And something far bigger was about to begin. The manager didn't rush. That's the part I remember most. People who are about to deliver normal news move quickly. This man moved like time itself slowed down for him. He typed in silence. No dramatic sighs, no raised eyebrows. Just the soft clicking of keys. Tap, tap, tap. Each sound felt like it was hitting my chest. I leaned forward, trying to read the screen. Numbers flickered, then vanished behind layers of security prompts. Okay. That didn't look like my $182.17 account. Not even close. The manager stopped typing, stared at the screen, then he leaned back, hard. The leather chair creaked under him. He removed his glasses slowly and pressed his fingers against his forehead. I felt sick. This is it. This is the part where he says there's been a mistake, or worse. Miss Carter, he said carefully, I need to verify something before I continue. My voice came out dry. Is it empty? He looked at me, really looked, then he shook his head once. No, that single word hit harder than any number ever could. He turned the screen toward me. At first, my brain refused to understand what I was seeing. Because the number didn't register as money, it registered as error, too many commas, too many zeros. I squinted once, twice. Is that a typo? The manager exhaled slowly. No, ma'am, he pointed at the screen. $48,327,911.64. The room went silent. Like the building itself stopped breathing. My ears rang, my vision tunneled. I laughed. I actually laughed. A sharp, broken sound. Okay, I said, shaking my head. Which one of you is filming this? The manager didn't smile, didn't move. Miss Carter, he said softly, this is your account. What the hell? My legs went weak. I grabbed the arm of the chair. That's not possible, I whispered. My grandfather fixed radios. He lived in a small house. He reused tea bags. The manager nodded. Yes. That somehow made it worse. He also, the manager continued, clicking into another file, owned 7 patents. My heart skipped. 3 defense-related, 2 energy infrastructure, 1 encryption model still licensed by the federal government. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. And this, he added, voice lowering, is just the liquid portion. Liquid what? He scrolled, real estate holdings, trusts, investment vehicles, numbers stacked on numbers stacked on numbers. I felt like I was drowning. Your grandfather, the manager said, structured this so no one could touch it, not your parents, not courts, not even us. My stomach twisted. Why? I whispered. The manager hesitated, then answered. Because he didn't trust them? The words punched the air out of my lungs. Memories flooded back. My parents fighting with him, whispered arguments, my mother's forced smiles. She never liked that he spent time with me, I said quietly. The manager nodded again. She tried to access this account 3 times. My heart slammed. What? Each attempt was blocked, logged, documented. He pulled up dates. 2 were years ago, 1 was last month. No way. She was planning something, he said. Cold fear slid down my spine. I remembered the sudden arguments, the pressure to sign papers, the way they kept pushing me to contribute financially. Oh shit. They knew, I whispered. They suspected, he corrected, but they couldn't prove anything. The manager leaned forward. Until last night. My hands trembled. What changed? You were disowned, he said. Silence again. Your grandfather included a clause. If you were ever legally severed from your parents, the trust would unlock fully. This wasn't an accident. This was a trap. A patient one, laid decades ago. The manager slid a document across the desk. A recorded message. Video file. Dated 2 days before my grandfather died. He asked us to give this to you, the manager said, but only when you were completely alone. My throat burned. The screen flickered, then my grandfather appeared, older, sicker, but smiling. My little star, he said, if you're watching this, then they finally showed their true faces. Tears spilled down my cheeks. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you longer, he continued. But now you don't need protection. His eyes hardened. They taught you to feel small, I taught you to survive. I covered my mouth, sobbing silently. I didn't leave you money, he said gently. I left you freedom. The video ended. The manager cleared his throat. There's more. My heart sank again. How much more? I whispered. He looked me straight in the eyes. Enough to make sure no one ever controls you again. I sat there, shaking. Because in one morning, I went from disposable to dangerous. And somewhere across town, my parents had no idea that the door they slammed, it didn't lock me out, it locked them out. I didn't go home, not yet, because once you know the truth, you don't rush, you prepare. The bank offered me a driver, a lawyer, security. Yeah, that was my life now. I declined the driver for the moment, but accepted the attorney. Her name was Elaine Harper. Sharp eyes, calm voice. The kind of woman who doesn't raise her voice because she never needs to. She read everything, every clause, every attempt my parents made. Then she looked up and said something that made my stomach drop. They didn't just disown you, she said. They were preparing to declare you incompetent. Excuse me? They needed you desperate, she continued. Isolated, dependent. So they could control your signature? Oh shit. Suddenly everything made sense. The gaslighting, the way they questioned my memory, the constant pressure. This wasn't cruelty, it was strategy. Elaine closed the folder. You're safe now, she said. And they're in trouble? That afternoon, my phone exploded. Missed calls, texts from my mother. Please come home, we need to talk. There's been a misunderstanding. Right. I didn't respond. Then my father called, voice shaking. Sweetheart, the bank made a mistake. We should fix this together. I laughed out loud. Actually laughed. Too late. Elaine sent a single letter, certified, formal, 3 pages. It informed them that I was financially independent, all prior authority was revoked, any further contact would be considered harassment, all assets they attempted to access were now under review within hours. The tone changed. My mother showed up at the bank. Unannounced, crying, demanding, security escorted her out. My father followed the next day, angry, threatening lawsuits. The manager didn't even stand up. Sir, he said calmly, you have no standing here. That sentence crushed him. Because power doesn't shout, it removes access. A week later, Elaine invited me to her office. We're done playing defense, she said. Now we go on record. The investigation revealed everything. Forged documents, undisclosed debts. Misuse of family funds. They weren't just cruel, they were reckless. The court hearings were quiet, efficient. My parents avoided my eyes. My mother looked smaller than I remembered. My father aged 10 years in 2 months. And then came the final blow. The judge read the decision. My parents were ordered to repay misappropriated funds, surrender the house, cover legal costs. I felt nothing. No joy, no revenge high, just peace. As they walked past me, my mother stopped. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. I met her eyes. "Because you taught me what happens when people think love is leverage." She had no reply. That night, I stood in my own apartment, quiet, warm, safe. I held the black card one last time, not as a lifeline, but as a reminder. The card didn't save me. The truth did. A year passed, not the flashy kind of year people imagine when they hear numbers like that. No yachts, no headlines, just healing, therapy, long walks, learning how silence feels when it isn't threatening. Yeah. Turns out peace takes practice. I changed my name, not legally, not yet, but socially. Because when you're finally free, you don't owe anyone your past. I funded scholarships quietly, paid medical bills anonymously, bought back my grandfather's old house, the small one everyone laughed at, and restored it exactly as it was. Same creaky steps, same radio on the shelf. The black card stayed locked away. I didn't need it anymore. Then one afternoon, Elaine called. "They've been sentenced," she said. No drama, no victory music, just fact. My parents were barred from managing anyone else's finances. Public records now reflected what they'd tried to hide for decades. They didn't go to prison, and honestly, that was worse. They had to live knowing the truth was public, that their power was gone, that the child they discarded became untouchable. I stood on the porch of my grandfather's house that evening, watching the sun sink low. I imagined him beside me. "You did good," I whispered. And for the first time in my life, I believed it. Justice didn't scream, it didn't chase. It waited, and when the truth was ready, it spoke, softly, finally. "They thought they erased me, but the truth doesn't disappear, it waits."